Whitesburg, Kentucky is a small rural community of under 2,000 residents in eastern Kentucky. It's the kind of place where everyone knows each other, a place where many folks have both personal and professional connections. And that was the situation with the local sheriff, Sean Mickey Steins, and the only judge in town, Kevin Mullins, both with great reputations, known especially for their work in trying to help their community battle the opioid epidemic. On September 19th, the judge and the sheriff had lunch together with some other people. Later that afternoon, the sheriff headed to the judge's chambers. Once he got there, he went into the judge's office for a closed-door private meeting. What happened next, no one in this small town expected. The sheriff fired his gun several times, taking the life of Judge Mullins in his own chambers. But this was not the first crime to occur in Judge Mullins' office. It was also the site of a sextortion scandal where the judge's bailiff was prosecuted for extorting sex from female detainees in exchange for not having to pay for ankle monitoring services. These criminal actions took place in the judge's chambers and bathroom after hours. And they also became the subject of a civil lawsuit naming the sheriff, Mickey Steins, as one of the defendants. So now, with the sheriff charged with first-degree murder for a shooting that was caught on camera, everyone is wondering, how will he defend himself at trial?
It's extremely complicated. Look, this is not a simple case. This is not a case that is only told by the, 7 to 10 seconds that was shown at the preliminary hearing. The story is one that's told over a several-year period, and most especially and specifically, it is told over the weeks prior to that ultimate moment that you see there on the video.
Well, let me ask you this. Is part of the reason or one of the driving factors the mental health of Sheriff Steins?
Well, we believe so. And one of the things that we've talked about from the beginning is the fact that the first thing he said to the investigators was, I'm concerned that they were going to take or have taken my wife and daughter. We believe that Mickey believed strongly that his wife and daughter and family were in imminent danger.
Is this actual danger that his wife and daughter were in, or was it perceived danger in the mind of the sheriff, which may be suffering from some delusional thoughts?
Basically, I think there are three options here. Because without a doubt, enough witnesses had interacted with him and heard him convey the fact that he was afraid that others were going to cause him or his family harm. So you basically have three options. One, there was no objective threat, and this is all a complete fabrication within his own mind, that it's completely subjective. The threat is completely within his own mind. And then the second possibility is that there was someone around the corner and he was only perceiving an actual and objective threat. So under the first scenario, then I think we are certainly being prudent and exploring his mental health. And under the second scenario, then there certainly is another element of the case. But I think there's a third option. And according to our investigation and what we've seen, I expect it will be that the truth is a combination of both. I believe there was an objective threat to his family, but I believe that his mental health was impaired to a degree that it impacted his ability to perceive immediacy and, the imminent threat of that, the imminent nature of that threat, Vinnie, as well as the magnitude. So I think that certainly the third option, according to what I have seen, is the most likely facts that you'll see at trial.
I was told that Sheriff Steins had tried to call his daughter, and and he tried to call his daughter from the judge's phone also.
Have officers confirmed that the sheriff's daughter's phone number was on Judge Mullins' phone?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
So that number had been called from Judge Mullins' phone?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So, Jeremy, am I correct that the sheriff attempts to call his daughter from his own phone, then from the sheriff's phone? And if so, how is that connected to the shooting, the why of it? Because it seems if that's happening just before, it has to be connected.
Well, I think if you take a look at what the witnesses in the, specifically one witness that was with Mickey after the lunch, but prior to the video that you're showing currently, he was describing his fear that someone was going to cause him or his family harm. And it appeared to this witness at first, he thought that Mickey was joking. And then he describes the fact that when he looked him in the eye, he realized that this was a very real threat to Mickey. He believed that this threat was there. And according to the evidence that they discussed at the preliminary hearing, he had attempted to contact his daughter and hadn't been able to get a hold of her. We believed he continued to attempt to get a hold of his daughter and was unsuccessful.
Is there any indication who the they would be? Like, obviously the judge would be one of them because he is the target inside the chambers. But any idea who else would be connected? Is it other deputies? Is it other folks from the courthouse?
Well, we believe that there are a number of people who were very interested in the outcome of the civil deposition. We believe there are several people who were concerned about what might be revealed in those depositions. You know, and I really want to take a step back. The very fact that we even have a video within a judge's chambers that's running a live feed, that's completely unheard of. So the fact that we even have video cameras in this chamber signals the past problems that have been ongoing. And so I think that this is not limited to one person, but I believe that there are multiple people that were concerned about the outcome of the deposition, and even more importantly, Vinnie, Mickey believed that there were multiple people that were concerned about what he might say at the deposition.
Jeremy, that meeting or that get-together in the chambers before lunch, what was going on there?
Well, the first thing that strikes me again, Vinnie, is the fact that we even have a live feed in a judge's chambers. That's the first thing that speaks to me. So in terms of the setting, the next thing that speaks to me is the informality. It's been my experience that even when even if I know a judge on a personal basis, there's a formality to a judge's chambers. There's in general, it's usually reserved for members of the bar. In general, there's some sort of decorum. I'm not saying that there aren't relaxed conversations, but the powwow that we see here is just indicative of the attitude that was reflected in these chambers. And it's the same atmosphere that allowed for the victimization of the females in those chambers. Specifically, we know Ben Fields has pled guilty to illegal sexual action within a judge's chambers. It's just unheard of. In general, you have to have permission from the judge to be in a judge's chambers. And again, there's a manner of decorum. And that's completely missing here. And I think that is what this video speaks to me. I know a lot can be made of, we can all try to interpret, there's no sound, we can try to interpret people's body postures and get into that debate. But to me, the bigger picture is the lack of respect for the seriousness of this Chambers.
I noticed that the sheriff is not with the judge on the way down there, but there is some interaction that we heard testimony about where the judge suggested to the sheriff that they have a private meeting and speak about something that they were discussing at lunch, speak about that in a private meeting. How significant is this lunchtime gathering and the discussion that happens at lunchtime relative to what happens later inside the chambers?
I don't think there's anything groundbreaking that took place during the conversations at lunch, and I think the witnesses have, they supported that fact. I will tell you that after they left for lunch, my client went to deliver food. It was something he would commonly do. He went with another gentleman that I referenced earlier to deliver food to some people who were indigent that needed help in that vein. And so there was a period of time after the lunch, but before presumably he arrives back in the video you're showing, that he went to make this food delivery with someone else. And there were some very interesting events that transpired during that delivery that I think will be more relevant than anything that was said at the luncheon.
And what would that be?
Well, I would just say I referenced it earlier, but I believe it is suffice to say that on the delivery there was an incident where our client was asked to deliver to another place that was not the normal place where he did the deliveries for this particular individual. And the witness will testify that at this point he was very concerned that there was an attempt to isolate him and to cause him harm.